Australia, but you're originally from Brazil?
Yes, that's correct. I came to Australia 5 years ago, and that's where everything happened.
That's a long journey.
Yeah, it's a long journey, and it's still a journey because I'm still not a resident in the country. So I'm in the process in this journey.
Okay. What took you to Australia?
So I wasn't like completely like fulfilled in Brazil in my work. I used to work in an agency as a photographer and designer. I used to have my own project on the weekends, but you know the feeling that like it's something missing. And then I felt like, okay, I maybe now is the time. I was ending a relationship at the time. So I was like, now is the time. It's now or never. I'm gonna go and try something. So I came here to study, to do a master degree. It was my excuse, like for my mind, that I was coming to study. And then when I went back to Brazil, I was gonna like have something else in my curriculum, and then it would be easier to find a job or something like that. But then I came here and I was like, I started to be more connected to my passion, which is photography, and everything started to happen. And from a retreat, actually, it's where everything
Mm,
started to happen for me because I got so many connections. And yeah, it's where everything started to happen. I met the love of my life, and then we decided to stay.
okay. Wow. Sounds like Australia is like one of those, hey, what do you call it when that spot has energetic powers for you?
Yeah, yeah. And it's not only for
Uh,
myself. I feel like a lot of people share this, that they activate something within themselves when they come to Australia. I've
mm.
heard once that here is like the solar plexus of the earth.
Oh,
Yeah,
power, confidence, and
exactly.
yeah, inner strength, I guess. That's really cool. So okay, so you're in Brazil and then you decide you're going to Australia, you start getting into photography, and then how did you find this retreat?
So I was a photographer already in Brazil, but it wasn't like a full-time thing. It wasn't completely aligned. So here I remember I posted on a Facebook group with like Brazilian, the Brazilian Facebook group. I posted saying like, "Oh, hey, I just arrived in Australia. I'm a photographer and I would love to like do my portfolio here to get to know like places in nature." So a lot of women started to message me interested in that. So I chose a few women, but in the process of choosing people, I connected with an astrologist, and she was like, "Oh, we are from the same city in Brazil. I would love to go like for coffee with you," because I mentioned that I was like into spirituality and a little bit of that. So we went for a coffee, and then she had a group at the time, a meditation group. So she invited me to go to that group to do photos of that. So I went, and then like a few months after that, they hosted a retreat, and then I went as a half participant and half photographer of the retreat. So from there, I met so many people that afterwards became my clients. So that's when I started to like have more clients, meet more people. So I always like have like this deep appreciation and gratitude for these women who connected me with so many people from that first coffee, you know,
Yeah. And the Facebook groups, they're
and the Facebook group.
powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I met a lot of people here on Retreat Builder because of a post in a Facebook group. That's how
exactly.
it all starts.
I feel like people trust others. Like when someone recommends someone on Facebook, they just trust.
Yeah.
Because
So
they
what about
wouldn't get like second intentions from that. Like what would they gain from like recommending someone? Nothing. So we just automatically trust. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you about your So I saw on your website that you're not just a photographer, but you're a healer and a witch. Tell
Yes.
me more about that.
So, being like defined as a photographer wasn't really resonating with me because it's just so small. And I always say this to people, to clients, to friends, that we're not only one thing, we can be whoever we want, and we can be all the versions of ourselves that we are. So it was for me when I embraced this, that I am like a multiple person. Like, I am a designer, I'm a photographer, a videographer, a healer, a witch. I am sometimes a child, I am an adult, I am a Brazilian, I am Australian sometimes, like all of these layers of who we are. And it's from that space that I believe that we build this confidence and the strength, like, to go to our lives, because I don't have to choose. I don't have to pick one version of me. I just get to be everything that I am, you know?
Mhm.
And authenticity for me comes from that space.
Mhm. So what does it mean to see yourself from a higher perspective?
So for me, like, I remember reading in a lot of places, like getting to know the, how do they say? It's like the best perspective of who you are, the best version of who you are. And I don't believe that we have the best version. We have the highest version. Is like how I changed a little bit the meaning, so that we can embrace everything that we are. For me, the highest version is when we embrace all of the versions that we have within ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because we're not just better. We're not just the light. We have the darkness and embracing the shadow side. And sometimes even bringing pieces of the shadow into the light can be really powerful also.
exactly. Exactly. Yes. And I don't have to be this good girl all the time. Like, I don't have to embrace just the lightness. As you said, I get to feel angry. I get to feel bad. I get to feel like all of the feelings, because we are spirits in this human experience, and we will feel it all.
Hmm. So how do you incorporate that into like when you're working with someone in photography?
So a lot of women, they reach out to me because they are like going through a new phase in their lives, or they just like finished a relationship, or it's their birthday, and they want to celebrate this new version of themselves. I get like they want to get to know themselves and love themselves even more. So the way that I always like to say is that we go to nature, right? So not all of my photo shoots, but let's say 90% of my photo shoots happen in nature, because for me, it's where I connect to my own nature. It's where I feel that it's not perfect. It has different textures, different colors, different beauties, and that it's from witnessing that outside that then I remember that I get to be not perfect. Same thing. And it's still beautiful, and it's still worthy, and it's still loved, and all of that. So the way that I go to the photo shoots is that I always start with this deep conversation, understanding why are they looking for this experience, and then connecting with their hearts, their bodies, their dreams. And then we get to express, like, how would your body feel with that, like with this intention, embracing this intention. And I guess, yeah, embodiment, a lot of embodiment. Yes. Does it
So
answer
it's
your
like,
question?
yeah, yeah. And I like that you said people come to you when they're going through a transformation in their lives. Because it sounds like the perfect opportunity, like you were saying, to get to know this new version of you. And when you're like, photography is very, it's, well, at least for me, I see it very fun, very playful, there's a lot of experimenting. a lot of what you already said, just how does this feel? Do I like this pose? Do I like this shirt? Do I like my hair like this? Like, how do I want my face to be? And it's just almost like a self discovery and a sandbox or an experimental container where you can explore all of these different versions of yourself and decide which ones you want to let through, I guess. Trying to
Yes.
piece everything together.
Yes, and it's very personal because for some women, they will want to see themselves as a goddess. So I have a few props that I bring to the photo shoot, and we do that. And I actually, one of the things that I love the most, and I always say that and recommend, is that in a point of the photo shoot, we do some naked portrait. So to embrace who they are so they can see themselves there like vulnerable without clothes, just with nature. It's not only like their bodies, but it's their bodies in the middle of this magical space. So it's just creating art, it's connecting again with this idea. It's remembering that we are art.
Hmm. I'm seeing this trend of naked photo shoots.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny because I didn't know it was a trend when I started. Like, I didn't know this was a thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know either. I have been discovering this as I speak with people in this community, and I first heard about it with Chelsea, who she organizes retreats in Tulum, and she was telling me that part of her retreats is that they do a naked photo shoot, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And then I spoke to another photographer, Carlene, and she was telling me that they also have, like naked, and and I've also done a naked yoga photo shoot that I never published anywhere because it was just for me. But um, it's I like that there's this shift from there is some weird or innate need to want to do that. I don't know why. I think when I search myself, it's just like you said, being comfortable in your own skin and wanting to photograph or just feel comfortable in your
Hmm.
own skin and having somebody witness that. And I think back in the day, there was not a lot of consciousness or mindfulness, and maybe a lot of women, went into Playboy in order to experience that, and it was very sexualized, and it was very, I guess empowering, but in a way degrading because it was like an effort to try and have this experience, but in the only way, in the only form that it was available. But now that
Hmm.
you are creating these spaces and Carlene is creating these spaces for people to experiment that in a very healthy, safe, um, just expansive way, I think is really beautiful to see that evolution.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's interesting because for different cultures, it's different, right? So if I, for example, say all of this to, it's my perception, okay? So if I say this to like some family members in Brazil or some friends from like childhood, they would be like surprised because I feel like in Brazil, or like the female body is super sexualized, especially in the media. So it's breaking that. And it's part of why I do what I do, is because I believe that the media shouldn't be a space to distort the truth of people. So with Photoshop and all of that, but actually to empower people, to connect with people, and to spread the word that we are sacred. We are beautiful in our own particular ways, So it's kind of to change this idea that we must look pretty to attract. like a partner, for example, you know, or to belong in a tribe, in a community, or whatever. It's just allowing ourselves to be us. And this process for me, it happened very naturally because I remember, so when I came here in 2019, the COVID happened next year. And then I put on a lot of weight because I was eating a lot to feel at home. It was my way to like feel grounded to my family because I didn't have them around and I was living by myself and I wasn't loving my body so much. So it was one day that I was walking, I remember at the beach, and then I had this intuition to like photograph yourself, see your body, like remove your clothes and look at yourself. And I even get emotional to remember that moment because it was such a beautiful moment. And I did some self portraits of myself. And I remember I posted one of the photos, of course, not showing anything. I was like with a leaf, like hiding some parts. And I posted writing down this message that uh, if I have like some extra weight, is because my body needed that. My body needed to eat a little bit more. It served me somehow at that point. So it's part of who I am. I'm not less pretty, less something because I have more weight on. And of course, we have to think about our health, all of that. After that, I started to exercise more, but it's like loving yourself in the most challenging, difficult moment, despite how you look, because understanding that you needed that for your evolution, for your healing. So I talk a lot about that to my clients as well, like my own experience and why I started that. And after that, like I was connecting more and more with this idea of being naked in front of the cameras and showing that. Um, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I joined a group photo shoot, like as a participant, to be naked and to see how other photographers were holding this space. Because I'm a mentor as well, and I always tell this to my mentees. It's like you need to experience the experience that your clients are experiencing to know how they feel. How would you feel? Do you feel awkward? Probably they feel awkward too. So what can you do to make them feel more comfortable? Right?
Yeah. What a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I really felt the depth in what you went through to get to that. And yeah, you're so right. I mean, you have to experience it for yourself in order to understand what the other person is going through and create the space that is needed in order for people to feel safe and want to open up and just feel like they can be themselves.
Yeah.
I feel that a lot in language too. You know, like sometimes when you go to a place and you're learning a new language, you feel very unsafe. Like you know, you're going to be laughed at if you say the wrong word. But I and now having, you know, like in reverse, now anytime where someone's trying to speak English and I know it's not their first language, I know what it's like. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you the space. We're just going to chill. You take your time, you know, because I've been there. So you have to be there to know that.
Exactly. And I've been through that because when I first started, like, of course, English is not my native language, but when I first started, it was like so hard. I would be so scared, like to be vulnerable and to say something wrong. And now I'm like, this is how I speak. Sometimes I will make mistakes, but I'm
Yeah.
communicating. They are understanding what I'm saying. So
Yes. That was my favorite thing. I'm like, you understand what I'm saying, right? Yeah, you understand what I'm saying. That's fine. Let's just keep going. Um, so tell me about how did you get into mentoring? How long have you been mentoring?
so it's not so long. It's been I think 1 year and a half. And for me, it was from this desire to expand the idea that we get to be more than photographers. So all of the photographers that reach out to me, they're like, oh, I see that you are connecting photography and videography with spirituality. I would love to do something like that. Or maybe I love traveling and I would love to be like a content creator and photographer about like like traveling or whatever it is like creating unique services and authentic services that actually represent who they are and their background, their story. So I always, I say that it's less about photography and more about, going within and looking into their traumas and their childhood, to bring up this version now that knows what to do to, connect with their story. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like, for example, for me, I know if I, okay, this is so deep. I can talk so many, like so many layers about this. But I work a lot on this idea of feeling pretty and confident in your own skin, right? So if I look back to my childhood traumas, it was a lot like related to that, to feeling seen, feeling heard, belonging, and not shy to express who I am. So part of that I bring to my services and I help people because I went through that. And I help these other photographers to find what it is about themselves and their story in the past that will make them the best person to help other people have the same transformation. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, your brain was picking between
Yeah.
version and person, right?
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot. Like, wait, no, just pick one word. I want to say both of them at the same time. Yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing. I'm sure that's been very helpful for
For
them and for you.
for
No,
me,
what have
yeah.
you
So,
learned?
oh, so many things. Um, I guess being able to, like, because when you are a mentor, you need to bring a lot of like goals, strategy, timeline, all of this sharp, like this energy, masculine energy to get it done. But also as a creative, because creatives have a lot of feminine energy, like going with the flow, life takes me, whatever it's meant to. I don't have to look at numbers. My finances are going well, like, not thinking about those things. So for me,
Mhm.
it's finding the balance, learning how to respect their timing to understand things and to get things done, but also having the energy to push them and to motivate them to like, you can do it. Let's do it. You have till next week to get it done. So I think for me, it's having this, learning how to have the balance, being balanced, regarding to these different energies.
Yes. The structure and the creativity.
Yeah.
I feels. So, I haven't been able to speak with anybody yet about video. And I would love to chat about video at retreats because it's mostly been around photography, which is great. But yeah, what can you tell me about video? Just whatever comes to your mind first that you want to share.
Okay. When I think about video, as I said, I have this marketing, advertising background. So I always think about what's the intention behind that. Why would you need a video? Is it for your website, for your Instagram? What do you want to do with a video? Because that's the first step when you are, creating a video for a retreat or for whatever it is. Because from that space of why I'm creating that, what do you want people to feel with your video? What's the feeling that you want them to feel? And then from that, knowing why and what you want to convey, the message, the feelings, you go to a retreat. Let's talk about retreats because it's this that we're talking about. I go there, and then for me, witnessing people living their own experiences, I will then understand like, oh, this is the feeling in the retreat. For example, the last one that I did was a tantric retreat. So a lot of sexuality, a lot of empowerment. And it was about like finding this inner power, but also being vulnerable and feeling sad, feeling all the feelings, right? So I wanted the video to be a little bit dramatic so people would understand the light and shadow and movement and the magic that happened. So this helps me to choose the music that is going to be part of the video. This helps me to choose the footage, what images that I want to be in the video. Would it be like with like recording someone's testimony or the introduction of the why retreat? I don't know if this is like what you wanted me to say, like the technical part of how I plan the creative process. But for me, it happens, this way. I always like to have a chat with the host to understand what is it about, what types of experiences people would have that. And then I go knowing what I like, having an idea, but also open to witness in the real time what is actually happening.
Yeah. How important do you think video is to promote a retreat?
Super important, because in the video, people get to connect more with the message. In the photo, it's the photo, and some people will look at it and they will like, oh yeah, I understand. And I feel, but it's very subjective. It's like, it depends on the viewer's background, if they will understand it or not, or if they would judge it or not. And if you do a video, you get to add words, you get to add music, so you make people feel more than understand or judge by just looking at a photo.
Yeah.
And you get to show a little bit more what happens, because a lot of people get very curious of like, okay, this sounds interesting, but it's a bit weird. I don't trust. Like, what would I live inside of this retreat? And then when they see the video, they understand a little bit more and they trust, because they see people there and they will trust the words that can come out of the video, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
you
more
get a
real,
better
I
sense
feel.
of the vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of videos are needed?
So usually I have different like packages for different retreats, but I always recommend people to create one long video, let's say 3 to 5 minutes, for the website, for the landing page, all of that, but also having some short videos to post on your social. So it will help you warm up people about the retreat. It will help you like create content for that. So I usually I usually do these two types. I do one long edited video and short videos that you can add your own music, you can add your own words on top of it, but it's just like content for you to use it.
And the long one, is it like a
Yeah, like
mashup of lots of different scenes, or is it just one long?
no, with different themes, different music. I will be like storytelling. I use storytelling to tell the story of the retreat.
Yes. That's important because everything is a story.
Exactly.
We like
And
stories.
people understand stories. Not only they like stories, but we understand. So if you tell a good story, for everyone will understand. A kid can understand, an adult can understand, because it makes sense to our brains. And that's why we need to use it to like sell, to explain our services and everything that we do.
Exactly. Okay, so you have the big video that kind of tells the story of the retreat. And then maybe you have little clips of powerful moments. And then how important do you think video testimonials? Okay, this is a two-part question.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to get testimonials in a video, and how do you do it?
Okay.
When do you do it?
Okay. So first question, super important, because people will connect with the testimonies, and that's why they will go for it. That's why they will purchase your ticket, because they will trust. And it's not the host's words, it's like people who actually experience it. And the second question is the way that I do it. So it depends, because I do, for example, there are people that do like 1 day retreat, people that do 5 days, 3 days, but usually closer to the end or at the end when it finishes, I get people. And I always actually like to introduce the subject. So, for example, we are in this closing circle. And then I always ask for permission to say how important it is to record these testimonies, because I tell them, think of yourself when you were like, oh, should I join this retreat or not? How important it was for you to listen to other people's opinion to make the decision of joining. And how important it was to join and actually live the transformation that you lived. So then they were like, oh yeah, I will do the testimony.
You are good. You are good. You know, I didn't think about that. Because one of the retreats that I hosted, actually, I think all of the four that we hosted, at the end, I would sit people down and I'm like, oh, we're gonna do the, but I didn't do what you just said. And I think that makes it way more powerful. And it's not just you, the host or the photographer, wanting to get a testimonial. It's like involving the participant, the attendee, and saying, this is why you need to do it. So that they're in the right energy to be able to really, going back to like embody, why are we doing this?
Yes, because think of yourself, like you just lived the most vulnerable moment of your life, let's say in a retreat. You had this huge shift. Your eyes are like you were crying so much. And then someone's like, oh, do you want to be in video telling about your experience? They would be like, oh, no. I'm in a safe space. I'm in my bubble. I don't want to do a testimony. And most of the people wouldn't do it. So remembering why, when you put in this perspective of like, think of yourself, how important it was for you, and you get to be this person to someone else. And then they will be like, oh yeah, I'll do it, because this work needs to be shared. This type of transformation needs to happen. And this is storytelling as well, because storytelling is when you make the person the most important one of that story. You put them in the first place, first place, you know? The story is about me. People do things because of themselves, not someone else. So you make this about them. Yeah.
It's kind of like making this part of the retreat, or almost like a ceremonial space.
Yeah. Everything is it's a ritual kind of, rituals, life ceremony. Everything is about creating these rituals and ceremonies to make people resonate more with what you're saying or what you're doing. The intention behind it. I always say like the intention. It's so important.
Yeah, because it's not like you're experiencing a retreat that's full of intention, and then now randomly we're just gonna go get in line to do testimonial videos. It's like, what's going on here? What is this?
Yes, yes. And also, like you were asking, the way that I do, like the way that I press record and how I do it. So before doing the testimonies, I always like to chat with the host, asking like, okay, for you, what is important that people will say? Just so I know in my head what it is that they want them to say. And then knowing that, I go to to the place where we're going to do the testimonies, I don't like to involve anyone else, just the person and myself. And the way that I do, I always like to make them feel comfortable. So I'm very talkative. So I get to be there and I tell them like, oh, how are you feeling? How was it for you? Like doing this chat. So they will be more comfortable in my presence because maybe they don't know me so well. I was just there witnessing the retreat. And then I asked them, look, there is a script, a little bit of a script for this testimony. But the most important thing is that you speak from your heart. So we're not going to do like 5 versions of the testimony. It's like pressing and that's it. So if you are unsure of what you're going to say, I invite you to just close your eyes. Think of what you just lived. What do you want people to know about this experience? If it was you listening, what would be important to hear to make you like connect with the retreat? And that's how it happened.
I bet you get some really good testimonials.
Yeah. And I know the way that I know that when it's good or not is like I feel in my body. When the person is talking from the heart, you just, I don't know, I feel in my body. I feel goosebumps. I feel the connection. And I'm like, yeah, this person is talking from the heart. So it's good. Whatever it is, it's going to serve someone somewhere one day.
Yeah. Well, that's it. This video has already created value just by that, the whole testimonial part. That's huge. I think I know that's going to help a lot of people. It helped me just listening to that. I was like,
I'm glad.
yes, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Yes. So what other kinds of retreats do you collaborate with? You mentioned Tantra.
Tantra, like, like mindset shift. I don't know how you call it, but yeah. Reiki and astrology together. I did once.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was more like to set intentions, to create like vision boards and to understand about, setting intentions and sending energy to the things that they want to achieve. What else? I've done a lot of, I'm thinking about the names of the retreat. A lot of the things are like involving, transformation, soul, embodiment. So yeah, I think that's it. And um, I'm planning to host my own retreat soon as well.
hmm.
Yeah,
What kind of
to
retreat?
photographers. I want to do one for photographers to be like immersed in this space of creatives and to exchange experiences, to create art together, to talk about like fears and what they want, like dreams, and about the industry itself, because that's the main message for me as a mentor, is to spread the message that we need to use this type of media and content to uh, expand this new consciousness of truth, vulnerability, connection, empowerment. So that's
So
my
what are
dream.
some fears? What are some fears that photographers have?
Like not being validated, the art not being good enough, not pretty enough, like always needing to the perfectionism. I think it's like we look for perfection sometimes because we are creatives, we are artists, and we want to create something that is extraordinary, beautiful. And sometimes when the client doesn't show the same the same love for the art, we get to be like, but I don't think it's good enough then. Oh, it's not good enough. They didn't love it. Like, you know, I've been through that. And sometimes I still feel that when the client, when the feedback is not so, doesn't have like the huge vibes.
Yeah.
So yeah, validation and believing that your work is good enough.
Where do you think that disconnect comes in when the person you're working with is not aligned or uh
Express maybe.
doesn't give you the feedback that you were expecting?
So I think you said everything, like expectation is the first thing that cannot exist, because when you are expecting something, it means that you will be disappointed because you're dealing with someone that is different than you. So one thing is maybe the way that this person express what she likes or not is different than the way that you express. So the feedback that you were expecting, like, "Oh, amazing, I love it, I'm going to post in all my social medias and all of that," is not going to happen because that person is, let's say, low profile. That person uh, is going to send you a heart emoji, and that's the way that she will say that she loved. And how will you know? You don't. You just, that's why I say like validation. You need to validate your
Mm,
own work first because you know that is good. And if that person hired you, is because she liked what you did.
yeah. Oh, that's so true. I mean, that's happened to me a few times, not with photography, but just let's say a gift. You know, you put a lot of time and effort into finding the perfect gift and like you put so much love into it and then you give the gift and the person's like, "Thank you." And you're like, "That's it? Like there's nothing else?" You're not gonna but if you were if but if like you said, create your art, appreciate your art, look at your art, and then just say, "I did that. And now here you can have it." And then what comes after that is just extra that you also don't expect
Mhm.
in return.
Yes. But this is easy to say and hard to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And you
know.
know who this from? My partner, because he's different than me. And the way that he tells me, "Oh, I love it," he's like, "It's beautiful." And I'm like, "That's it? That's beautiful? That's it?" So he teaches me this every single day.
Mhm. Our partners are reflections.
Yes.
Mm. So, on the topic of challenges, because I would say this is kind of like a challenge, what are some challenges that you've encountered on retreat?
Okay, the most challenging thing for me is feeling that I don't belong sometimes, because when you are a photographer or a videographer in the retreat, you are not like hosting or doing a workshop or whatever. People sometimes look at you, look at your camera, and they go like, "No, this person is gonna record me. I don't wanna make eye contact. I don't wanna, like, I wanna be here." So sometimes for me, I get to experience and feel this barrier of like not belonging to the retreat because I'm just an outsider. I'm not doing the things that they are doing. So, in one retreat, they were having magic mushrooms, and I wasn't experiencing that because I needed to be like professional working, capturing all the footage that I needed. And I remember when they left the experience, they were like laughing and having fun, and they were looking at me, and like when they looked at me, they were like, "Stop laughing." And then I would like, "Oh," and I would feel that. And I remember the retreat that I could heal a part of that is that I could share this. I could share this in the retreat. I was vulnerable, saying like, for me, it's belonging, and more than feeling that is like being a Brazilian inside of a retreat that everyone speaks English, like it's their native language. The way that they express, the way that they say things, sometimes people there, I don't understand what they're saying. So because they speak too fast or whatever, the accent is so strong. And all of this made me feel like not belonging to that space. So for me, the challenging moments were the moments that I felt this. And my inner child was like, get out of here. It's not safe. Like, you don't want to be in this space, because I remember things from my childhood that I was feeling that way in spaces, not belonging, for being different. And then it's the times, those times that I have to bring my inner wisdom, my adult to play. And I would like look at my inner child and I'm like, I'm here with you. I'm holding space. I can handle this. I know how to do it. And yeah, that's it for me. I think this is very personal, but for me is that.
And thank you for sharing it. Sometimes it's a little bit, or it can be a little bit scary to share intimate things, but someone else somewhere in the world will watch this video and listen to what you're saying and feel the same exact way and be really glad that you said it and that they feel seen through you sharing your challenges.
Yeah, thank you for holding space for me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. What about some of the most rewarding moments at
Oh,
retreats?
I think the most rewarding moment I felt ever in a retreat was actually the last one that I did in Melbourne, that I got to say this, that I didn't feel like part of the group. And I got to be in the middle of the center, like in the circle. And I got to say, like, for me, it's very easy to see people. It's what I do. I see a lot of people being vulnerable, hold space for cries, for whatever it is. But when it comes to me, it's hard to be seen. It's hard to express how I feel. And I just want to belong. It's what I said. And I started like having this cry and massive cry and release. And I got to experience all the support from all these women. I think there were like 30 women. And I felt like so empowered and so good. I could taste my own medicine, I think. So it was like super rewarding for me. Like it was so beautiful. And I guess that's what I want to give to people, like a little bit this taste of being seen.
Hmm. No. Maybe that could be a name or like a version of that, to be seen, because for people that are constantly behind the camera seeing everyone else, this is a chance for you to step out and be seen.
Yes. I recently started my own personal project called Be Seen, and it's an invitation for all women who want to be seen, like in their bodies. So we go to nature and then everyone is naked and we get to do like this ceremony and this space of like seeing each other, you know?
That sounds really terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. I've never done that or anything like that before. It sounds like something I would want to do, but too scared to do.
Yeah.
So how do you build up the courage to be in a circle of people naked?
So my first motivation to do it, being honest, was to feel what my clients feel. So the first circle that I joined as a participant was for that, to understand. And I got to have beautiful experiences and to like, I remember looking at everyone's bodies and I was like, oh, so many things, like so many things, like so different bodies, like boobs and hair and no hair, all of that. So I got to be like, oh, it's fine. If I'm different, it's fine because everyone is different. And for me, that was like a big shift to accept who I am.
Mhm.
Uh, and I always like to share the experiences that I have. And for this project in particular, people are not paying me for that. I'm just doing it for my heart because I'm starting to explore more. And most of the people who are in the group who are participating in the photo shoots, they were my clients before, so they know me. So kind of they trusted me, but I'm still building the concept of how to encourage people that don't know me, that have not worked with me before, to trust me and to join the experience. I'm still learning how to do that, but I guess it's through testimonies.
Definitely, that would be one way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I guess when like the photographer is also vulnerable. So in this case, I was also naked. I was also in some photos. I guess they would trust even more because they would be like, oh, she's doing it, and she's a photographer, and she's naked too. So yeah, I think I can be there as
Yes,
well.
that definitely helps too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me know. I mean, Australia is a long way away from Mexico, but let me know when are you doing this?
So I'm doing it once a month.
Oh,
Yeah, because I'm building this collection. I want to create art from this, and I want to have like exhibition from this. I want to, yeah, the project can go so many ways. But yeah, I would love to do it like in Mexico or some like other spaces, other places in the world. Who knows?
yes.
I'm
We'll
dreaming,
put it out
manifesting,
into
sending. Yeah.
Retreat Builder and see who watches this video and they're like, "Yes, Amanda, we need you to come and do this wherever they are in the
Yes.
world."
And we do a collaboration. Yes, for sure.
Mhm. Okay, so I have just one more question. What message would you like to leave for the retreat community?
Mm, I guess uh, when I think about hosting a retreat, I think about so many retreats that are out there, and I start to compare, like, oh, but this already exists, and I wanted to create something different. And one thing, actually, my brother said this to me once, and he was like, Amanda, but this is something good. If this exists, it means that people buy. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess it's like, it doesn't matter if someone else is doing what you're doing. Like a lot of photographers are doing what I'm doing, but just be true to yourself and your own transformation, your own story, because it's from that space that you will be able to help others. And you have your own single way of saying things. I have my own single way to express myself. And people connect with you. People will connect with you, not someone else, you. And yeah, I guess that's my message. Like, continue being authentic, continue being you, true to you, and people will feel that.
Great message. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be in this space. I was so happy. Before coming here today, I was like with my inner child.
Yes.
Someone out there in Mexico saw you and invited me to a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. So thank
That's
you.
right. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.